Hello and welcome to my coding course to build the support desk system. In this course, you will learn the essential tools and skills to design, develop, and deploy a support desk system website using React.js in frontend and Socket.io in backend. My name is Basir and I'll be your instructor in this course. I have 17 years of coding experience in international companies like ROI Vision in Montreal, and now I'm a coding instructor with more than 50,000 students around the world. I designed this course for anyone seeking to develop a support desk website. By the end of this course, you'll be able to design a responsive website, implement a user-friendly frontend, and build a scalable backend. Also, you can deploy your website on cloud servers. You need to open the code editor along with me and start coding throughout this course. I teach you creating functional components by React, defining different screens for normal users and admins using React Router DOM, using React hooks to handle form inputs and scroll between elements, building real-time backend to exchange messages between users and admin by Socket.io. Also, you will learn how to deploy this application on Heroku and share your work with others on internet. I designed this course for web developers and entrepreneurs. If you are or want to be a web developer, take this course to become a professional web developer, have a great project in your portfolio, and get a job in more than 22 million job opportunities around the world. If you are an entrepreneur, take this course to launch your startup and sell your support services using this fully functional support desk system and earn money from your idea. The only requirement for this course is having basic knowledge of React.js and Node.js. Feel free to take a look at the course preview and enroll if it's along with your ambitions. Let's review the features of this support desk system. For the homepage, we have a button on the bottom side corner. When user click on Chat with us, we ask the username to start chat. Let's say I enter my name like Jimmy. After entering the name, there is a support box here and I can enter message like there. In the admin side, on creating a chat session, a new record will be added in the user list here. As you see, Jimmy is online, and when we enter a message in the user point of view, the status of user in the admin panel will be changed to new. When I click on the user, I can find the message here and answer it like this. When I send a message as admin, the user will get the message using Socket.io and the chat can continue to resolve the user issues. When a user closes the browser tab, the status will change from online to offline. When you as admin are in the selected user and the selected user enter a message, you can see the new message here. But if the sender is not the selected user, the status will change to new. So you can find out there is a new message from this user, Roya, and you can handle it like this. Also, it's possible to close the support box, browse the website, and click on again and enter message to ask another question from the admin. This is a simple introduction from the support desk system from user point of view in the left tab and admin point of view in the right tab. Let's get to code. Let us start by creating project folder in the desktop. Inside your desktop, right-click New Folder and set it to Support Desk App. Open this folder in VS Code. First, you need to open the VS Code and click on Open. In your desktop, select Support Desk App, the newly created folder, and there we are. We are ready to create React application here. From terminal menu, create a new terminal. To create a new application, we need to run create React app using npx create React app. Set the app name to frontend and press enter. Wait a while to install all packages to create a React application in frontend folder inside the support desk app folder. In the meantime, I'm going to create a new file in the root folder and set file name to readme. This part is optional. I just enter the project name here, and the current lesson is create React app. What we did so far is creating support desk app in desktop and running npx create React app frontend in the support desk app folder. Awesome. Here we have the project. In the frontend folder, what I'm gonna do is to follow the instruction here, cd frontend, and start React application using npm start. Wait a while to open the project on your web browser at localhost colon 3000. Awesome. We have project ready and it's time to work on the layout. For the layout, we are going to use React Bootstrap package and Bootstrap package on npm. Click here to open a new terminal and make sure you are in frontend folder. Type cd frontend and go to the frontend folder and install these two packages using npm install. And enter React Bootstrap and Bootstrap. Awesome. Inside the frontend package.json, inside the dependency section here, you should have these two packages. Good. We are ready to go for the next step. Open app.js, and here it's time to write React code. Get rid of the content here and create a div. Also get rid of the import section. What I'm gonna do here is to set classes for the first div using class name. The first class that I'm gonna use is display flex using dflex from Bootstrap. Set the direction to column and set minimum vertical height to 100. So it creates a full height div using display flex in column direction. By using this style, we can put the footer section at the bottom. Next step is creating header, create main section, and footer. In the footer, create a div and enter all right reserved there. Here I type header and here I type main. Save the code to format your code and check the result. Here I have header, main, and footer section. I'm going to put it in the bottom center aligned. To do that, set the class name for the footer to margin top auto, because the display is flex and it's in column direction. Using margin top auto, put the last section at the end of the screen. Save it. For this div, set class name to text center to put it in the center. If we check the result, there is no change in the style. To fix it, we need to import Bootstrap in app.js. Go to the first line and import Bootstrap from this folder, bootstrap/dist/css/bootstrap.mean.css. What it does, it goes to the node module folder, find this path and put it in the CSS files of the application. Let's check the result. Here we have header, main, and the footer is center aligned at the very bottom of the web page. Good. Let's go for the last part of this lesson. We are going to create a nav bar in the header section. Inside the header, define nav bar like this. Import it from React Bootstrap / navbar like this. Set BG to dark to create a dark background, set variant to dark, and expand it on larger screen. So for a screen smaller than larger screen, we show hamburger menus, but for larger screen and greater than larger screen, we show the menus in the header bar. Inside that, define a container. It's another component from React Bootstrap, imported right after navbar like this from React Bootstrap. And inside the container, define a navbar.brand component and set the application name to support desk. Next to that, define a navbar.toggle to show menu when the screen size is less than large. And right after that, define navbar.collapse to display header menus. We are going to only use one menu here. To define a menu, create a nav component, like always import it from React Bootstrap like this, and create an anchor, set href to admin, and set title to admin. And we implement admin page later. Don't forget to set the class name to navlink and set target underline blank to open the link in a new window. Save it. Here we created the header of the website. If I click on admin, it opens a new window at this address. Good, we are ready to go for the next step, adding chat with us button. In this lesson, we are going to add routing to the project. For this purpose, we need to install React Router DOM. Open your terminal, go to frontend folder, and npm install React Router DOM. Next step, go to app.js and wrap the whole component inside browser router. Move the div and drag and drop it inside the browser router. Control space, import browser router as a named import from React Router DOM. Then go to the main section, get rid of main, create a container and set margin top to 3. Inside that, define the routes that we are going to use. Inside routes component, import routes from React Router DOM like this. The first route for this application is admin. So define it using route component, import it from React Router DOM using control space or command space on Mac on it. Set the path to /admin, and the element that responds to this address is admin page. We need to create this component later. The second route is the home. The path is the home page of the website, and the element that responds to this address is homepage. Save the code, get rid of extra line here, and we are ready to define 2 pages. Go to src, right-click, new folder, pages. Inside that, create a new file, set it to homepage.js, and here type rfc to see the React functional component snippet. Press tab to create homepage, right-click, new file, admin page.js, type rfc and press tab to create admin page. Then go back to app.js, control space on admin page, and auto import it from /pages/admin page. Do the same for homepage and scroll up to make sure that you imported pages correctly. By having these changes, we have 2 pages, the home page and the admin page. If I go to the admin, I can see it like this. Great. That's it about this lesson. For the next lesson, we add chat with us button to the bottom right corner of homepage. In this lesson, we are going to create chatbox components. Let's go to the src and create a new folder named component. Inside that, right-click, new file, and set file name to chatbox.js. Like always, type RFC to create a React functional component, and we are ready to use it inside the homepage. In the homepage, get rid of homepage here and define heading 1 and set it to homepage. And create a paragraph. Here you can enter your website content, whatever it is. Then it's time to use the chat box component here. Control space on it and import it from /components/chatbox. Save the code, and there we are. We have chatbox component inside the homepage. If we check the admin page, there is no chatbox here because chatbox is only for public user to chat with admin. Next step is creating a chat with us button inside chatbox component. Go to chatbox.js. For the div, set class name to chatbox, and inside that, create a button like this. Set variant to primary to make it blue, and set the caption of this button to chat with us. Button is coming from the React bootstrap, so we need to import button from React bootstrap/button. Save the code, and there we are. What I'm gonna do here is to move it at the bottom right corner of the website, so when you scroll, you can see chat with us always here. To do that, go to index.css inside src folder and create a class named chatbox. Set the color to black, make the position fixed, and set right hand button to 1 rem. And by having this CSS style, here is gonna be the result. If I click on chat with us, nothing works. Let's implement onClick for it. Here, define onClick. The function that handle it is support handler. We are going to create a support box. At the beginning of chatbox component, define support handler function. Inside that, we need to set the state of is open to true. Before that, we need to define a state for handling opening and closing chatbox. To define a state, type const, and inside a square bracket, enter the name of a state. It is open. And the function that updates this state, set is open, and set it to use state. Press tab to import it from React, and set default value to false. By default, chatbox is not open. When user click on the support handler, we need to open it. So I set is open to true. Similar to support handler, I'm going to define close handler. In close handler, we set is open to false using set is open false. We use close handler later in this lesson. Save it, and here it's time to use is open. Right before the button, check is open. If it is false, we need to show this button. Otherwise, we need to show the chat box. To creating a chat box, define a card. It's coming from React Bootstrap. Inside card, define card body. Inside card body, define a row. And inside row, define a call. In the first column, create a strong element and set it to support. Next to it, I'm going to show another call and create a button to close the chat box. Inside that, define a button, set caption to X, and set class name for this button to btn small, make it small, and set color to secondary gray color. Set the type of button to button. It's not a submit button. And the most important part of this button is on click. When user click on it, call close handler and it's gonna close the chat box. Save the code, and here is the return section of chatbox component. Import card, row and call from React Bootstrap. Scroll up like what we did for button, duplicate it 3 times, card, row, call, copy, paste, copy row, paste here, and copy button, paste here. Save the code and let's check the results. Here click on chat with us. Here I have support box. If I click on close, I go back to chat with us. Awesome. Let's implement the chat list section and input box to enter message. Right after this row, create horizontal line, then create a list group. Import list group, scroll up and import list group from React Bootstrap. It's a component to list data in React. Inside that, I'm going to create a list group item like this and enter no messages. We implement this part in next lessons. After a list of messages, it's time to create a form to enter message by user. So after the list group, create a form and set onSubmit to submit handler. We implement this function later. Inside the form group, create input group. It's a component from React Bootstrap. Scroll up, import input group from React Bootstrap. And inside that, define a form control like this. Form control should be imported like input group. So I scroll up and import it. Then go back here, set the value of the form control to message body. We need to create a state for message body later. When user change the value inside this input box, call this function, set message body to e.target.value. It's the value that user entered inside this input box. Set type of this input box to text and show placeholder type messages. Save it, and next to this input box, create send button. Define button component, set type to submit, and set variant to primary to make it blue. Good. It's time to define message body, state, hook, and submit handler function. Scroll up, duplicate this state, set it to message body, and set message body. The default value for message is empty string. And the last part of this lesson is creating submit handler function. It accepts event as parameter. And what we do here is to prevent refreshing the page when user click on it by calling e.prevent default function. If message.body is empty, alert this message, error, please enter message. Otherwise, we need to handle it in next lesson. Save the code, and here is the result. When I click on chat with us, I have support section, there is no message, and I can type message. Let's fix the CSS styling issue here. Go to index.css. For the list group inside chat box, set overflow to scroll, maximum height to 20 rem, and margin button to 1 rem. Save the code, save it, and in the chat box for the second column in the header section of chat box, set class name to text end to push the button to the right side. So this result is much better. I have support, horizontal line, messages section, and a box to enter message. Great, that's it about this lesson. In next lesson, we create socket.io to handle sending messages. Here is the plan to create socket.io server. Let's start by creating the backend folder. Right-click in the empty space, new folder, and set it to backend. Then create a new terminal, go to backend folder, and type npm init to create a new node application. Press enter for questions, and inside the backend folder we should have package.json like this. Next step is creating server.js inside backend folder. Right-click new file, server.js. Here is the code for creating the server. First of all, we need to install two packages, Express for launching web server and socket.io for creating socket server. So npm install express and socket.io. Also, we need to install HTTP package 2 to create the HTTP server, and it's time to install Nodaman. npm install as a development dependency Nodaman. Nodaman is a package to watch the changes in the code and rerun and restart the server on change. So we don't have to stop and start project when we have a change in our code. To use Nodaman, go to the package.json and in the script section, define a start command and set it to Nodaman server.js. Save the code and type npm start in the terminal in backend folder. It watches the server.js, and when we have a change in the server.js, it restarts the project for us. Let's get to code in the server.js. Import HTTP from HTTP, import path from path, and import server from socket.io. When I save the code, as you see, I'm getting this error because it restarts the project for us. And to fix this error, we need to go to package.json and set type to module. By setting this, there is no error, and we can use import instead of common JS format, import module in node application. The last import in server.js is express.js. Next step is creating express app using const app equal to express function. Then get the current directory using path.resolve function and use this middleware app.use express.static and join the current path with the frontend/build. By using this code, all files inside the frontend build folder will be served. By running npm run build in frontend, we can create the build version of the React application and serve the file inside the build folder from server. The next step is defining a route for all URLs. Just return this file, frontend/build/index.html. Let's test this code. Open a new terminal, go to frontend folder and run npm run build. By running this command, a new folder named build will be created inside the frontend folder, and it has production version of our React application there. Wait a while to creating the files. To test the results, we need to create an HTTP server using this code. HTTP.server, pass the express app as a parameter to this function, then define the port, check the environment variable for port. If it doesn't exist, use 4000 as a port number and call lesson on the HTTP server. Lesson accepts two parameters, the port number to listen to And second one is the callback. If the server created successfully, we show this message. Save the code and select the terminal for npm start on the backend folder. We are getting this beautiful message. Server started at this port. Keep control and click on this link. We are getting this error. To test this result, we need to go to the root folder and create npm project here. So click on plus, type npm init here, press enter for all questions, go to package.json in the root folder of project, and here add a start command and set it to node backend/server.js. So run server.js by node application. Save the file and run npm start in the root folder of the project. We are getting address in use error. So go to the previous terminal here, stop it, and run the terminal in the root folder again. It's served. If I control click on it, awesome. Here I have my project running on port 4000. Let's stop this one because we don't need it right now. It's just to make sure that website is ready on this port. Close this, click on plus, go to the backend again and run the project here. Great. What we did so far is to create a web server and we serve the files inside the React application from this server, and we are ready to go for creating the socket server to implement online communications between clients. In this lesson, we are going to create socket server. Go to the server.js, and right after HTTP server line, we are going to create socket.io server using this code. Create a new instance of server. Server is coming from socket.io. It accepts two parameters, the HTTP server that we created in this line, and second one is options. For the option, we set the course policy to accept requests from all servers. If we don't set this option, we will get course policy error in Google Chrome. Then return the created socket.io server to IO variable here. Next step is creating a users array. It's gonna contain all users in the support desk system. Let's go for the next step. In the next step, I'm going to handle connection for socket.io using this code. So on connection, this function will handle it. Inside that, we need to handle 4 events. The first one is disconnect. On the socket parameter from IO server, on disconnect, this function will raise. It happens when you close your web browser, this function will run. We implement this function later. Let's define the next function. The next one is on login. It happens when a user in the client side emits on login action. This function in the server will run and it passes the user as parameter to this function. Let's define the next one. It's on user selected. When admin in the admin dashboard click on a user, we emit this action to pass the selected user as parameter and get the messages from this user. And the last action is on message. It happens when a user send a message to admin or admin send a message to user. Save the code to format it. And what we're gonna do in this lesson is to implement these functions. Let us start with login. The user is an object that contains only the name of user. So what I'm gonna do is to define a new variable named updated user that deconstruct or destructure the username. So name is the first field of the updated user. Then we add more 3 fields to the updated user. The online status is true. The socket ID, it's coming from the socket object, and it's gonna be automatically filled by socket IO on connecting user to the socket server. And the last one is messages. By default, there is no conversation between user and admin, so we set it as empty array. In the next line, we search on the users array to find the user with the username in the user parameter. Then create a condition. If user exists, we need to update its socket ID. It means that user closed the browser window and opened a new window with the same name. So we need to save its messages and update its socket ID to get messages on the new window tab. Also, don't forget to set online to true, because when we disconnect, we set online to false, and we need to make it online again when user come back to the conversation. For the else part, it's a new user. So what do we need to do? Just add the user to the users array using push. Awesome. The next step in onLogin is for admin. We need to search in the user database to see if the user is admin or not. If we have admin user in the users array and the admin is online, then we need to have an if condition here and send a message to the admin user using io.to. We can send a message from server to a specific client. It's admin user, and the message that we are going to send is update user with the logged in user as parameter. So inside the admin side, we can add this new user to the list of users. The last line is about checking the logged in user. If the logged in user is admin, we need to emit list users, because when admin logged into the system, we need to list all users to show them in the left panel for admin to handle them. Save the code, and here is onLogin function. I'm going to move onDisconnect after onLogin, and it's the next function that I'm going to implement. For disconnect, when user close the browser tab, I need to find that user in the users array using its socket ID. If user exists in the users array, change the status of the user to offline and search for admin user. If user is admin and admin is online, send this message to the admin. Update user and update the status of user. So the user in the admin list should be offline. Save it. Here is the code for disconnect. The next one is onUser selected. It happens in the admin panel. When admin select a user, we need to send all messages from that user to admin. So first of all, we need to find the admin and make sure that admin is online. If admin is online, find the user in the users array and send this message to admin. The message type is select user and the content is exist user. Exist user contains the username and user messages, so we can list all messages from this user for admin panel. Save the code and let's go for the last action. It's onMessage. It happens when user send message to admin or admin send message to user. First of all, we need to check the sender of the message. If the sender is admin, what do we need to do? We need to find that user, the receiver, the message.to is the receiver of this message. So admin is going to send a message to this user. We need to make sure that user is online. So if user exists, it means that user is online. What I need to do here is to sending to this user this message and add the new message to the users.messages array. Else, in the else part, we need to show a message to admin using io.to socket.id is the ID of admin, and emit or send this message from system to admin, and the content of this message is user is not online, because in the else part x.online is false, and we need to make sure that admin noticed of the user offline status. Save it. Let's go for the else part for outer if. For the else part here, the sender is not admin, so the sender is normal user. I need to find the admin and make sure that admin is online. So I, as normal user, want to send a message to the admin. First of all, we need to make sure that admin is online. If he is online, then send the message to admin using emit function from socket.io. Then find the user, the sender, from message.from, I find the sender of this message and add this message to the messages array of current user. If admin is not online, we need to inform user from this issue. So what I send to user is from system to the sender of this message, and the body is sorry, admin is not online now. Save it, and here is the code for socket.io server. In less than 100 line of code, we created a very simple support desk system for the application. Great, that's it about this lesson. In the next lesson, we use these actions in the React side, the client side of application. In this lesson, we are going to finish chatbox. Open chatbox.js in components folder, and at the very beginning of this file, define endpoint. Endpoint checks the current URL. If it's localhost, use this API as a socket.io server. It's current computer port 4000. Otherwise, it is hosted on the production server like Heroku or other web servers, other host. So use that address. Then go to the component and define UI messages reference. At the beginning, use useRef to define it. Import useRef from React. The reason that I'm going to access to the messages list group is to scroll on it when a new message added to the list. Define another state named username, because we are going to get the username on starting chat, and define this state messages. By default, it's an array that contains one element, and this element is an object that has from and body. The from is the message sender, it's system, and the body is the content of message. So at the beginning of conversation, we show this message to user from system. The last state that I'm going to define here is the socket itself. By default, socket is null, but I will set value for it in the use effect. Great, let's go for the use effect. After defining state, define use effect. Use effect is a hook, and it will be run at the beginning of rendering this component. So define it like this. And second parameter is dependency list. It's an empty array. So at the beginning of rendering this component, the code you put here will be run by React. Control space on use effect to import it from React. What I'm gonna do here is to check UI messages ref.current. If it does exist, then call a scroll on it, a scroll by function. And by having this setting, we scroll at the very end of UI messages list group. To make it happen, we need to set UI messages ref. To do that, scroll down and find the list group here. For ref prop, set it to the UI messages ref. Save it, go back, and here is the scrolling part. Next step, check the socket. If socket has value, it means that we already connected to the socket.io server. What I need to do after connecting, I need to emit onLogin and pass the username as parameter to onLogin. By running this line in the server, this function will be raised, and the user that we filled here will be passed as parameter to onLogin event. Good. For the next line, define this event handler. When there is a new message from the server, add that message to the list of messages. I set it using setMessages hook from here. Save it, and we need to add all variables that we have used in the use effect. The simplest way is clicking here, click on the lamp, and update the dependency list. When there is a change in the messages in the socket and in the username, this code will run again to update the UI. Great. Let's go for support handler. What we did so far is to just show the support box, but it's not enough. We need to get the username from user. If username is empty, show a prompt, a box to get the username and put it as username using setUsername. Then create a socket.io client by the endpoint that we defined here and return it to the sk variable. And at the end, set the created socket client to the socket state using setSocket. So we need to import socket.io client. Scroll up, right after React, import socket.io client from socket.io-client. It's a package from socket.io, so we need to install it. Click plus here, a new terminal, go to front-end folder and install socket.io-client package. Awesome. Next step, go to the submit handler. When user enter a message, we need to handle it. First of all, add that message to the list of messages in the using setMessage function. Here you can see the structure of a message. The body of message, it's the data that user entered in the input box. From is the sender of message, it's current user, and the receiver is admin. Don't forget to empty the message box, input box after setting the message, and define a set timeout block for 1 second, and inside that call emit on socket object to raise onMessage event on the server and pass this message as a parameter to this function on the server. What we pass is an object that has body, it's the message body, the sender of message, it's current user, and the receiver is admin user. After this, don't forget to clear the message box. Save the code and scroll down. Get rid of extra closing bracket. And there we are. Here we have submit handler. Scroll down, find the messages. And here, instead of showing no message, we need to render messages. How do we render the message? The messages state contains all messages. So get rid of this. Inside curly bracket, use messages.map function to convert each message to a list group item. For the map, we have this function as a parameter, the message, and the index of message in the messages array. Inside that, render list group item, and as key parameter, pass the index in the messages. So it's gonna be 0, 1, 2, 3. Inside that, render message.from inside a strong element and message.body. Save the code and let's check the result. Click on chat with us, enter a name like John and press enter. Here we are getting this message from admin. Hello there, please ask your question. This record is coming from this line of code. By default, in the messages, we have this record. What if I enter a message like hi and press send? After a second, I'm getting this message. Sorry, admin is not online right now. Where does it come from? It's coming from server.js. Inside the onMessage handler, we have this code. Because there is no admin user, we go to the else part, and here the receiver get this message. Sorry, admin is not online right now. Good. So far, so good. We implemented the client side of the support system, and we are ready to go for the admin dashboard to handle user list and chat with them. This is the last part of coding in this course. What we're gonna do is to create admin dashboard. Inside the front-end SRC pages, we already created admin page. What we're gonna do is to complete this page to show user list and chat with them for admin. Let us start by defining the endpoint at the beginning. It's very similar to the endpoint in the chat box. If the URL is localhost, use local server to respond to the socket IO requests. Otherwise, use the URL like heroku or other cloud server as an endpoint. Inside the admin page, let's define state hooks. They are selected user, socket that we are going to connect to, UI message ref. It's similar to the UI message ref in the chat box. It renders a list of messages. Message body, it's the input box that user enter, that admin enter message. Messages, it's the conversation between user, selected user and admin. And users, it's the list of all users in this support system. Control space on user state to import it from React and unuse ref 2. Great. Next step is defining use effect. It's the function we run on loading this component. Import use effect. Very similar to what we did in the chat box. Check UI message ref current. If it does exist, scroll to the end of the UI messages. Then check the socket. If it does exist, then define this event handler. When there is a new message, handle it right here. How do we handle it? First of all, we check the selected user.name. If it's equal to the sender of message, it means that the selected user is the sender of message. So we need to add the message to the list of messages. Otherwise, search in the users array to find the sender of this message. It's in the exist user. If sender exists, then use set users and update the users list using map method. Inside map method, check each user. If the user.name is equal to the sender, then what do I need to do? I need to change the onRead property of that user to true. So in the UI, I can change the color of this user, and it means that there is a new message from this user. Otherwise, don't change the user information. Keep it as it is in the users list. Great. Here is the code for handling new messages. Let's go for another event. It's update user. Where do we call it, the update user? If you check the server.js, we have update user when there is a disconnect and when there is a new user on login. So what do we need to do on update user is to search for that user in the user list. What if we already have that user in the list, so we shouldn't add it again? What we need to do is to just update that user based on the new data from server. What if it's a new user? For sure, we need to add it to the list of users. Here is the code to do that. We set users, and inside a square bracket, the structure users items, and concatenate it with the updated user, the new user. Let's go for the next event listener. It's list users. What we do here is to get the data from server and set it to the user's state hook. Where do we call this action? It's in the server.js in this line. When the logged in user is admin, we need to return all users as a parameter to the list user, and we show them in the user list. The last event is select user. When you as admin select a user, we need to render all messages for that user in the message box. Great. Let's go for the else part. If socket is null, it means that we are not connected to the socket.io server. What do we need to do? We need to connect to the endpoint using socket.io client and set it to the socket state hook. And don't forget, we need to emit on login for admin. So in the server, we can add admin as a new user to the user list. Save the code, control space, and import socket.io. Before going for it, click here on the lamp and update dependencies. Get rid of .name here. Let's import socket.io. Find chatbox at the very beginning. We have this line of code. Go back to here and save it right here. Awesome. Let's go for the next function after useEffect. The next function that I'm going to implement is select user. This function happens when admin click on a user. In this function, call set selected user to update the selected user state hook and search in the user list for that user. If that user exists, then call set users, then update the users array and change onRead state from true to false, because when you click on a user, the state of onRead should be changed to read. At the end, don't forget to call onUserSelected. By calling this event in the server, onUserSelected function will handle this request and it returns the current user as well as their messages. Save it and go for the last function. It's submit handler. When admin enter a message and click on send, we need to handle it. First of all, call e.preventDefault to prevent refreshing the page. Then check the message body. If the message is empty, show this error message. Otherwise, add the message to the messages state hook. Here the new message has body from sender is admin and receiver is the selected username. Then call socket.emit on message inside set timeout, and the parameter is this object. Sender is admin, receiver is selected user, and body is message body. It's the input box value. At the end, don't forget to set message body to empty to make it possible for admin to enter new message. Great. Let's use submit handler and select user inside the JSX part. Get rid of admin page and define a row instead of div. Inside row, define a call. They are components from React Bootstrap. I will import them later. In the first column, I'm going to render users. So call users.filter to get rid of admin user. And if the length is 0, show this message, no user found. The alert is a component from React Bootstrap. After that, define a list group. Once again, call filter on the user to get all users that are not admin, and use map function on it and render list group item. Set property action to make it selectable by mouse. Set the key to username to make it unique. Set variant to this. If it's current username, make its color different using info variant, and handle onClick using select user function and pass the selected user as parameter to it. Inside the list group, show the username, and after list group item, close opening brackets and parentheses. Save the code to format it and import components here. Like this. Here is the result. As you see, I have Joe and John as a user list here. Let's go for the next step. It's the state of users. I'm going to define badge component before username using this code. If selected user.name is equal to current user, and if the user is online, make the badge primary, otherwise make it secondary. If user has unread message, make it like danger, red. If user is online, primary, otherwise secondary. In the text inside this badge, if user is selected user, if user is online, show online message, otherwise tag it as offline. If user has unread message, tag it as new, otherwise online and offline. Create space between username and badge, and at the beginning import badge component from React Bootstrap. Here is the result. Joe is offline and John is online. If I close this and refresh the page, both of them are offline. If I click chat with us and enter a new name, here Nick is online. Great. Let's go for last part of this lesson. It's rendering messages. After this call, this column, define another column for message. Inside that, set class name for the container dev to admin, open index.css. At the very end, define this class for admin for the list group. Inside admin, set overflow to scroll, set height to 68 vertical height, and set margin button 1. Go back to admin page and check the selected user.name. If it doesn't exist, show this message, select a user to start chat. Otherwise, render a div like this. What I'm gonna do inside this div is to show heading 2 with this title, chat with the user name. Then define a list group, set the reference to UI message ref to scroll to the end of it. Check the length of messages. If it's empty, show no message. Then use map function on messages and render each message. The last part is creating an input box. Create a div, and inside this div, define a form. And like what we did in the chat box here, at the very end, we have this input box, copy and paste it right here. Let's import, scroll up and import form control and input group. Save the code and button. Let's check the result. Here no user is selected, so we are getting select a user to start chat. If I click on Nick, it says chat with Nick and there is no message. Let's say hi to Nick as admin and go to the user point of view. Here I have hi. Enter response to the admin and go to the admin dashboard. Nick sends this message. So we successfully implemented support desk system. Let's create a new tab and click on chat with us and set the name to Sarah. What do I get in the admin section? Sarah is a new user and Sarah is online. If I enter a message as Sarah, what do I get in the admin dashboard? Yes, the new flag says that Sarah has a new message for us. Click on it, hello there, and you can answer to Sarah and Sarah get the message. Great, we successfully implemented support desk system in this quick course. In the next lesson, I teach you how to deploy this course on Heroku. The last part of this lesson is publishing support desk system on the internet. We are using Heroku. You can use your own cloud server. First of all, we need to push the code to GitHub. Go to github.com, click on sign up. If you don't have GitHub account, enter your email and follow the instruction here to create GitHub account. Then you need to log in to your GitHub. After logging to GitHub, go back to VS Code and right click on frontend, reveal in Finder or Explorer in Windows, and delete .git folder. If you don't see .git folder, show hidden file to find it and delete it. Copy .git ignore in the parent folder here. So you should have .git ignore here and inside the frontend, and go back to the VS Code. Here we have .git ignore. Get rid of / here to ignore node modules in all folders. And we are ready to push this code to GitHub. Click here, select publish to GitHub. If you don't have this box, you need to connect your VS Code to GitHub. Follow the instruction. You will be redirected from VS Code to GitHub to allow VS Code to access to your GitHub account. And after that, when you click on publish to GitHub, you will get this message. Select publish to GitHub public repository and it will start publishing your code. Wait a while to upload all files and you will get this message open on GitHub. Click on it and you should get support desk app on your name on github.com. Awesome. We are ready for the next step. Go to heroku.com, click on sign up, enter your name and fill the information here and click on create free account. Open your email and click on the link, enter password and set password and login. Click here to proceed and click on accept. Then click on create a new app, enter the app name like support desk system 1, I just make it unique, and click on create app. Then click on GitHub, connect to GitHub, and click on connect to GitHub. Enter your email and password on GitHub, and after that you connected your GitHub account to Heroku. So you can type support and click on search to find the app and click on connect. Then scroll down, enable automatic deploy. So when you have any push in your code on GitHub, automatically the update will be applied to your web app on GitHub. After enabling this, go back to VS Code, find the package.json in the root folder and add this line right before start. It's build command. Automatically Heroku run build and then run start. What we do in the build is to go to the front end, to the backend folder and install all packages, then go to the front end and install all packages and build the front end. Save the code, go back to the version control system, add build command and click on commit and click on publish to GitHub. Because we enabled automatic deploys, a new push, it automatically build the project for us. As you see, build in progress. If I click on view, build progress, it shows the line of code that I added to the package.json cd backend npm install, and it's running this command. It start running, creating optimization build for the front end project. After that, you can see that it's launching the project for us and it says build finished. So if I go to this link or click on open app, awesome, I have my application running on the Heroku app server here. Here to test the result, click on admin to open a new tab for admin section. Click on chat with us, enter John, say hi, and go to the React, to the admin dashboard. John has a new message. Click on it and check it here. Great. We successfully deployed our website on Heroku server. You can deploy it to any server like DigitalOcean, Netlify, and other platforms, and enjoy your side project and make it's like your side project and improve it. Happy coding. Bye-bye.